Welcome, everyone. Welcome. My name is Sebastian Nam. This is a live recording of the Conscious Profits Unfiltered podcast, and we're here at the Kinn. If you've never been here before, this is a hub for conscious entrepreneurs. There's really cool events like these. There's a beautiful co-working space upstairs. You can ask somebody that works here if you'd like to learn more about that. And I'd like to welcome Danielle Correia, the founder of Sugaring LA.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Sebastian.
Let's give her a round of applause. Amazing. Danielle, what was your last oh shit moment? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
My last oh shit moment was I had a bunch of hives. I got some poison oak, and I was like, oh shit, because of the poison oak. And then it's just been tough trying to get my immune system calm again, which was kind of like, oh shit.
Yeah, that'll get you.
Yes, it will.
Well, are you on the recovery?
I am.
Well, you're here. You're already killing it by being here.
Yes.
So thank you. Danielle, you started your sugaring business in a small studio in Charleston. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. Rolling it back, 2006, actually, nobody had heard of sugaring at this point. And I, on a whim, moved out there with somebody I was dating at the time and found a little corner space on St. Philip in downtown Charleston and put an ad out in the little black book and the newspaper at the time and just started building clientele. And I'd be walking around because, it's like a small town and people are like, that's my sugar girl. And
Sugar girl is that's a good nickname,
And the husbands be like, thank you. It was pretty funny. And once I was ready to move back to Southern California, I had a woman who was always very interested in my business and, and was able to sell it for, I think, like $50,000. And,
really?
And I was young. Amazing. And I was like, that was amazing. So great experience and, got back to Southern California and, this is like celebrate or educate moment, right? Of like, okay, I had all this money in my pocket and okay, I know sugaring, but, what do I do? And so in Solana Beach, I found a little space. I dumped every penny I had into it. And, my heart though wasn't in it yet because I think from the breakup. And I had someone call me and ask me, hey, do you want to come help me, get my business started up in LA? And then the same day I had someone ask me if my space was for rent. And I maybe was open like a week. And I was like, yes, so I'm doing it. And basically moved up here with nothing in my pocket and ready for the next adventure.
Incredible. That's huge. That takes a lot of courage. And what inspired you specifically to be in the beauty and wellness industry? Was there something about that first?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think a lot of us, at least in my generation, were grown up with how to take care of our skin or what chemicals or products to use or not use. And that was a big thing for me. I was dealing with some health stuff when I was younger, and it was okay, change the laundry detergent, change the what I was eating. I need to eat organic. And then it was okay, skincare. And I was like, well, where do I even start? And I was...
Which is the dirtiest one of all in terms of the industries, from what I've heard, right?
Absolutely. Oh,
yeah, skin and beauty.
Yes. I mean, I can't even walk into a nail salon sometimes without being I have a headache. And I ended up... I was working a waitressing job, and the girl I was taking her position was just graduated esthetician school, and I was like, oh, your skin's glowing. She's like, you should do it too. And I was very inspired by her of okay, maybe this is my path. And I've never been one to... I didn't really like school. I was always a hands-on doer. I'm going to learn that way. And so I enrolled in esthetician school and was like, I love this, and was introduced to a basic technique of sugaring. And I was like, all right, this is my thing. This is great. And I don't want to jump ahead. So.
Well, I love it. You're still glowing, by the way. Isn't she glowing? She's glowing. I hope I'm glowing like you.
It was the beach run this morning. I was like, it was nice to
beach
be out
run
here.
in the rain. Nice.
I did.
Or rain-ish.
I did. I saw some old volleyball friends out there too as I was jogging by. I was like, you're still out here.
Yeah. People are so scared of the rain here. We actually had like 100 plus. I mean, we have a great audience here, and we had a lot more people, I think, that just freak out about the rain and like, we're not going to go.
Yeah, the weather, you're like, stay inside, get cozy.
So what was that moment that you're like, I'm going to turn my passion into a larger scale business? Because you had already sold that original company, but then you're like, how can I turn this into something bigger? Was there a key moment there? Before franchising?
Sure.
Yeah.
I started in Santa Monica working out of my apartment, and this is when Yelp got started. It was amazing, 2011, and word of mouth, reviews, and I had a little setup, and I had people pulling up in the alley in my little parking spot at 7 a.m. for a Brazilian before they had to go to work. And
That's awesome.
every 20 minutes. And then I would go play volleyball, and then I'd have my lunch crowd, and I'd be texting people, and they'd be texting me, and it was just always being available, always being responsive. And then I got to a point where I was, sugaring 20 people a day, and I was playing volleyball, and my arm was going to fall off, and I was like eating with my left hand. And I was like, okay. So
I need some help.
I need some help, and I need a space. So I found a little space on Montana Avenue upstairs and built out 2 little rooms and hired 2 gals, really not knowing anything about anything, HR, none of it, right? And so it was very grassroots of like, okay, let's just figure this out and hire as I need to grow, right? Because then I don't have this big thing where I don't have people to fill it yet. And from there, it just kept growing.
That's amazing. I didn't know that the OG one was in Montana, and you still have a location in Montana. That's so
the
cool.
OG one.
Yeah. What was the biggest challenge at that point? What was it the shift from actually hiring, where it's like, I don't know if I have enough business to hire and pass it off and then make less money, or was there another challenge?
That definitely was not a challenge. I would say it's the maintenance, upkeep, and support, right? That they all need, and making sure you're just hiring the right people to put into place, making sure you have all of the right documentation, the non-solicitation, the non-competes. We can't really enforce non-competes. So, non-disclosures, things like that.
So like the business stuff, like the admin stuff, like the legal stuff.
I am not an admin, right? And so I was very comfortable saying, I am going to hire for what I am not good at, 1,000%. Like, I don't like sitting behind the front desk. It's not me. And I'm not good with, setting up the systems and processes in the background, and really bringing someone in to help me with that was one of the best things I ever did to help grow so we could have more locations and start to build those systems out.
That's great. It's so important to recognize what you're not good at and hiring for that, and just bringing that in. And I don't think you didn't have a business partner at the time or anything like that, right?
I did not.
And you still don't, right?
I still don't for my current location.
Yeah. Right. And if you do have a business partner, like I've had multiple business partners, and I've had business partners where we're just so similar, and it's really fun at first, but you don't really get to grow. And then when you're really different, you're good at different things. It's just amazing.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's so good to
complement each other.
Oh, it's great. I love it. So from that step to then growing your locations, and then being like, I think I can actually scale this even further and franchise, which is a massive step. What was there a turning point where you're like, I really think I can do this? Is it a mind shift, or was it like a revenue thing? Okay, we hit a certain amount, now I can go and do this.
For me, it's never been about the revenue. It's more of offering. I'd have people ask me all the time. They'd moved to Chicago and be like, Danielle, come open a sugaring place here. Like, I tried this and it wasn't good. And so it was more of like getting it out there of like quality sugaring that is for everybody, right? And the technique and the education behind it and the organic products. Like, I wanted people to have that opportunity to have that no matter where they were. And there was definitely a gap in the market for that. And I would say 2020, right, was like, are you going to make it or break it? And especially being in LA when 40% of businesses closed and never reopened, we somehow hung in there with 11 months of closures, right? On and off was very difficult. But what it also showed me was the like absolute demand for the service. People are like, I can't shave, I can't wax, I have eczema, I have psoriasis, like I get razor burn, I need this medically for me. And it was that reminder of like, gosh, it's what we do and how we change people's lives of what keeps driving this for me. And when I had the opportunity to partner with Franworth, which we call ourselves Beloved Brands, it was, I wanted to grow, but I didn't want to do it on my own because I like to stay in my lane and do what I'm really good at and, kind of branch out from there. But really partnering with an organization that's what they do and that's their experience is really important to lean on and leverage when you want to go into the franchise space, to really be able to support the organization and support your franchisees, because that's number one, right? We're only successful if they're successful. And so I was very confident in the company I met at Franworth, and not only good people, because that was important. I had a lot of people trying to woo me and being like, here's money, here's equity partners, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted the experience and the partnership, not just the financial support from it. So that, for me, was very important going into this next step.
So the people were very important. There's also this sort of always this mission and value that you were bringing to people, and you're like, people really need this. So even at a time when everything was closed, as you said, how many locations did you have at that time when everything was closed?
I had 5.
You had 5 already.
Yeah.
These were all your locations.
Yeah.
And that was, so at that point was the shift into, okay, I potentially have this great partner. I can do this. I'm not alone, and I can franchise out.
Yeah. I would say I'm ready to take this on and do it maybe a little more methodically than I did it. I was like, I would move somewhere. I'd move to Manhattan Beach, be like, oh, I need to open one here, or people are like, come open one east of the 405. And I opened one in Manhattan Beach, so it was, in West Hollywood. So it was more of like demand of where I saw it really needed. And that's kind of how I would pick my next location. But, with franchising, there's a whole thing with like territory and mapping, and that's not stuff I really knew about when I was doing this on my own. So I've definitely learned a lot.
I bet. Yeah. And I'm sure there's some business owners here, brick and mortar, and people that are looking to franchise or already franchising. How did you decide that specific franchise model? Like, it's going to be this much of a fee or this much percentage, like all those things, were those things that your partner really helped you derive based on the way your business already operated, or is that just something you get to choose?
Yeah, I mean, we can choose that, but in the brand portfolio that Franworth had, they also had Lash Lounge and a few other brands. That was kind of the standard franchise fee within that portfolio. So that's how
it was already kind of set.
It was kind of already set, yeah. And then there's like different ways you're going to get candidates who come to your brand, right? There's organic that come in from seeing you or just hearing about the brand, or the brand advertising. And then there's like a whole broker consultant network that you basically put yourself into and do the tour to educate these different consultants on your brand. So when there are people, looking for a business to own or a franchise, they know about your business and then they send them your way.
That's really cool. So with some clients that I worked with in the past, like F45 and BFD, big franchise type models, one of the hardest things was ensuring brand guidelines were being respected across socials and digital marketing, all those things. That was just one piece of it. So we'll get to some marketing stuff a little bit later, but I'm interested in understanding how can you ensure that the SOPs and the quality of things are really being followed when you franchise now? Because now you're at 40, correct?
We have 40 sold. We have about 11, 12 open.
Amazing.
Yeah. And we had over 4 open in the last 90 days. So it's been a lot.
Congrats.
Our
really
teams
cool.
are like pushing hard.
Yeah.
But in terms of really keeping that quality control on that marketing level, I would say we have done a really good job so far with not only creating a lot of content for them to use, which has been really fun, but, we use platforms like Sochi, right, to where you're going to have your corporate posts that are going to push down through all the different channels. All the franchisees are able to have those posts go onto their boards. And then they also have, their entire selection of Canva with everything pre-made for them, and they can just update the text. And then we incentivize them to build up their studio, right? Build up your local vibe, build up your sugarist, build up like walking outside, being like, hey guys, this is where you park, right? And they've done such a great job. And sometimes maybe if they didn't on a post, like we just ping them and let them know. or they have it approved by us first for like maybe the first 30, 60 days while they are trying to still figure it out. So I would say we've definitely have that, pretty under control.
What about other SOPs or just quality control outside of the marketing side of things?
Yeah. I have to say I've been really happy with the sugaring so far. That was my biggest fear, right? Because that's like my baby and that's everything. The technique is everything. You can go get sugar at 2 different places and have totally different experience. You can be like, that was terrible and it hurt, or wow, that was amazing. It was so quick and it was painless. So for me, the training, I have pulled my staff to become trainers in the organization, which has been really neat. So they understand the brand, they understand the business, the ethos of it, the education portion of it is everything. And then we have, follow-ups, right? We have our, 90-day, hey, let's see how everyone's doing, videos. So we have our quality control as we go. And when they have new hires, we have a process. But we also have a lot of digital, like I call it the brain of sugaring LA, where you can find anything and everything, like training videos, marketing, uniforms, all of your promo stuff. So that has been really helpful as a resource just in general for, getting stuck, unstuck, you name it.
What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying the show. If you love the show, please share with a homie. It would mean the world to me. Also want to let you know that you can check out sebastiannahm.com for more resources like this, and also www.goglobal.agency, a digital marketing agency that's end-to-end, helping purpose-driven and mission-driven brands scale their impact. Again, that's goglobal.agency or sebastiannahm.com. Please hit me up straight up on Instagram, DM me, ask me questions. I'd love to connect with you and see what you thought about this episode or other episodes and what you want to hear more of. Much love. That's really cool. And that's something that you worked on with the partners that helped you scale, yeah?
Yes.
Now, it must be really cool, though, to see the people that you train then travel with you and train others. Yeah, that's got to be really cool.
Yeah, they're really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like, it gets them out of their everyday comfort zone and also helps them grow in their career, right? Because everybody wants to grow. And how I'm always the number one supporter of my staff growing. We do 5.5-hour shifts during the week because I want them to be able to go to school, have a family, whatever that is for them. It's really important, but be able to make really good money while they're at work.
That's so key. That's so important to empower the people that work for you to also grow. Like, they have their own lives and to be happy for them, for their growth. And more likely than not, when you do that, they tend to be more loyal to you because you're empowering helping their path.
Absolutely. And I mean, we offer healthcare to our employees. Like, we make it a career for them because that's what it is. These gals are licensed professionals in their industry. So it's important that, they're shown that same amount of like respect and then they show that in turn to the business as well.
I love that. Now, you're very intentional about the spaces and the materials and everything that you put into your business. Is sustainability an important piece of that?
Yeah, that is huge. Our paste is made of sugar, lemon, and water, and it's biodegradable. And we have 1 ball of sugar and we do that whole service on you. It's not double dipping. There's no sticks, no strips, no double dips, right? It's 1 ball of sugar and a glove, and that can do your entire service. So there's very little waste. We even had like biodegradable gloves before COVID. I mean, it was amazing. And I love the sustainability piece of you don't need all of this stuff. Our skincare, it's simple, organic ingredients. There's not 50 things. Like I always say, I can't pick out a mattress, right? Because there's so many choices. But like if there's just 8 products, and depending on like your skin condition, are you ingrown prone? Are you not? Do you need to exfoliate? What type of moisture do you like? It makes it really easy for people to choose, and it works on everybody. So it's not like, hey, we have these 5 different product lines for you, and then you really can't figure it out.
That's cool. When it comes to something like sustainability, that is part of your morals and something that you believe in, I find that it's also good for business. You're sort of doing the right thing, right? You're doing the right thing for people, for the environment, for the world. And sometimes doing the right thing isn't good for business in the short run, and it's more so for the long run. Is that something that you've found?
I think we get a lot of like-minded people who come into the business, and sometimes, things I think with the franchise are like, people want menus, right? But we were like QR code because we're trying to like use less paper. And so, okay, if we have to get menus now, like let's try and get recycled, things like that, making those conscious decisions. But we have like very, very, very little waste in our business because our product is literally organic sugar, lemon, and water. And so, people love that they're putting, products on their body, and it's safe for people of all ages, all skin types, all hair textures, eczema, psoriasis. And you can't say that about a lot of things these days. Treatments that you're doing are, that is just safe and harm-free, and it's not, adding to the environmental waste.
That's huge. I love it. I love that. And as you said, it really resonates with a lot of people. And that's the people you want, to be there for the long run.
It's like the way everything's moving. I would say in LA, we're definitely right, like a little more conscious and like forward, and a lot of other places are catching up to that, which I love seeing. But they're only going to catch up if we make it available there, right?
100%. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about marketing. So I've had a marketing agency, an end-to-end marketing agency for almost a decade now, which is wild. And when it comes to brick and mortar, I mean, we've used all kinds of strategies, but brick and mortar, we've seen GBP, Google Business Pages, essentially, which at first you said we started with Yelp, but it was huge, right? Yeah. So we've seen that for brick and mortar, specifically for franchising, like Google Business Pages and reviews, it's huge. I'm gonna talk a little bit about everything, social media, Google Business, Google Ads, and all that stuff. But has GBP been pretty big for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of everything for the franchisees, right? Like ours was all about word of mouth, and people look it up and they're like, okay, they've got all the stars, they've got all the reviews. But like when you're a brand new business, you don't have that yet at all. So it is heavy digital, and it's heavy kind of on the ground, boots on the ground of education. Like right now, our Instagram is all about education. And so that's what we want to push. Those are the posts we're, boosting and having like pop-ups at colleges, right? Like these are the grassroots that we really push our franchisees to do, because yes, there is that digital aspect, but like figuring out that algorithm, it takes some time, right? Of like in different markets, it's going to look different.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you about community. So outside of the digital side, how important is community in this situation? There's so much being spoken about community, and sometimes it's sort of like, sure, community, but I feel like it's so important, right?
So important. I mean, I don't even sugar anymore, and I'll walk around like when I go to a shop and be like, hey, here you go, girls, have you ever heard of sugaring? And they're like, oh, I've never heard of it, and then they'll email me later and be like, thank you so much, it was awesome, and that is the power of like this, and like talking to people and networking and like giving that confidence in like, hey, this is really great, you should try it, and that's why we've always been kind of a word of mouth business, right? Because if, as you know, like a Brazilian or hair removal, it's like an intimate service, and it's scary and it can be painful. And so if somebody tells you like, oh, actually it wasn't that bad, it was great, you got to go try it, you have the whole office building coming in, And so I've definitely stressed how important that is for the franchisees to be able to get out there and really share it and do demos so people can understand it.
So cool. I love that. How many people are involved in some sort of a brick and mortar or franchise? Oh, just a couple. Okay, cool. Have you been thinking about like building community? Has community been a thing for y'all that raised your hands? Yeah, community. Okay, cool. Just wondering. And what about like affiliates or influencers or micro influencers? Because we're talking about small communities, and a lot of times with influencer marketing, it could be very much a like large scale D2C play, digital. They could be anywhere in the world. So when it comes to brick and mortar, it could be a little bit more challenging in terms of finding these sort of micro, very much geo-focused influencers.
Yes. There's a platform called Social Cat, which we really like. And if you go on Instagram, you'll see a ton of people come in for a service and like do the little thing. And we have very strict kind of parameters and guidelines around that as well, of like what they're showing, what they're talking about. But that's been amazing for kind of utilizing that micro influencer, because you want them to be local, because we aren't like national yet where anybody can go to any city and state and go get this service. So I wouldn't want to like tap into somebody to up there where they're like, oh, totally, I can't use that service. So, and then we do have some, definitely bigger clients at these studios, but I like to keep their privacy. It's part of like why they come to us, and they have for years, and they'll just come in and see any one of my staff, and we're not paparazziing them. And so it's like that balance, right? Of like finding people who are like willing to do that and who like being influencers, and then keeping the respect and privacy of the like really famous people who do come in.
Yeah. That's what hasn't worked from a marketing standpoint that you tried and didn't work. Maybe you tried it again and it worked, but what hasn't worked?
I would say it's still to be determined, because I think everything works to a scale, right? And then it's pivoting when you're seeing something not working and saying, okay, like let's not use those keywords anymore because they're not getting, it's more of
so like paid search, for example, you to a certain spend,
keywords.
maybe it works. And then if you're trying to scale that up, then it stops to work.
Yeah. And it's going to be different everywhere. Like Santa Monica, everybody bets against our name. Like it's just because we have, Sugaring LA was intentional when I came up with the name, right? Because SEO or like Sugaring LA. But I wouldn't say that's the same thing for Carlsbad right now, right? It's like, so it just really knowing and getting into your, depending on what company you use, right? Like we pair with a company called Cybermark. We get a report every month. We go in, they give us, their advice of, hey, these keywords are doing good. Your click spend is X right now. We'd like to see it over here. We jump between Meta and Google, I would say pretty frequently. Depending on what we're seeing.
In terms of shifting the spend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, we get probably a lot more leads with Meta, but we get more quality leads with Google, right? And so how are we converting those leads? And it takes 30 days to know all that information. So it's, just staying up on all of that and making the adjustments here and there.
Yeah. I think it's key there to be aware of the shifts, because it just shifts a lot. Shifts a lot, and it depends on your competitors and how much money is going into this. And so there's this competition for eyeballs, and then it kind of goes up and down.
And it's the voice you're using, right? Like what are you saying to get people to want to come in to try something? That is everything. And, if you're just talking about sugaring, great. But if you say, never wax again or break up with waxing, these are part of our campaigns. It kind of lets people know that, hey, okay, it's not this and I don't have to do that anymore. What is this that I want to try, right? And so a lot of it is how you are articulating it to your potential client.
Absolutely. And even that shifts the trends in that, right? So these sort of emotional hooks, right? We're scrolling at the speed of light. We're going through search results really fast and things like that. So, hooking people from an emotional standpoint on what they want to feel or what they will feel from the sugaring or from the service that you're going to provide, always providing value, right? Not just buy me kind of thing.
Absolutely. Because that's the last thing I've never been a salesperson with any of this. But if I believe in something and I know it's great, I know it's going to be good for you, I have no problem talking about it or, helping you understand it.
And it's a different energy. You speak about it with a different energy. You're not trying to sell. You're just like, hey, this is really great. This is awesome.
Yes. And, and that's part of the staff of educating them. You're not selling a membership. You're actually saving them money, but you're also making your job easier and you're making it less painful for them when they're coming in once a month. And then they're going to get more hair refinement. So but if they don't understand that, right, then they can't talk about that and they can't educate the client why.
Right. What advice, Danielle, would you give your younger self, specifically when it comes to scaling or franchising?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I could go back and say I would do something different at this point, because I look back and I'm like, every single one of those things happened to make something else happen or to get me here or to learn from something that, didn't work well, to have to force me into the pivot, to know that it was exactly right, that that's the pivot I should be doing. So I'd like to say, hey, maybe I would have liked to give people more options in the beginning of the franchise, to maybe not the exact model that we have, but maybe a smaller scale model as you're working into your large franchise space, kind of like a pre-sales to start learning your business, and building up clientele before you actually get into the large space. That's maybe something like, hey, if I could come up with that earlier. But, it just helps remind me now, okay, that was when I was thinking that, maybe that was the right thing.
Yeah. What about just specifically to yourself to perhaps not worry about certain things that you worried in the past that maybe you over worried and like it's gonna work out
Yeah.
type stuff?
I think I worry more now than I ever did.
Wow.
And I
Succeed and you will worry more.
succeed and I worry more, but it's not more so because like I have a family now, and it's not just me just doing whatever I want and like, whoa, it worked. Oh, it didn't. I've definitely got to be a little more like methodical in my approaches. And when I had my studios, like I didn't work for 8 years. I have a regional manager and she runs it all. And I get to do what I want every day. And it's the 4-hour work week, and it was wonderful. And now I was like, yeah, let's franchise. And I'm like, oh, wait, it's like a full-time job, a corporate job, mind you, that I am not used to, right? Of Zoom calls and traveling and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so it's been a great experience. I have learned so much in everything about franchising in all facets. But it's also that balance of time and family. And, that is something I attain to get back to.
Yeah.
And so I would say that's kind of the challenge now of like finding that balance of, because I own, half the franchise company, I care about its success. And so I need to be actively involved in it, right? To get us through this first, year of franchisees opening, and any shifts or pivots or whatever, I can't just not be available or not be there and present and driving this change and growth, because that's what my mind does. So it's been interesting, but good. And it's a season, right? It's just a season of your life. And I will really, really value and appreciate that time when I get it back, like I never did before. So
I think it's very important what you said about seasons. I'm big on sort of these sprints that we may have in life. I think work-life balance is sort of like, I like to think about like debunking this myth about work-life balance. It's not equal every single day forever. You just can't have it that way. You have these sort of big sprints that could be 6 months or it could be 3 years or whatever it may be, and then you get to rest a little bit. And I think that, in my opinion, that's the best way to build things that matter.
Yes, absolutely. I love that you say it that way. I've always been like personal project, work project, because it's like I have to keep feeding me too. It's part of kind of being a visionary or like creative or founder. You don't want to be in the daily grind of it all the time. You like to be creating this stuff, and I've really thrived in, like I live in Oceanside. We have a little farm. We have Airbnbs on the farm. So, I got to build a house, and I love putting my like intention and effort there and then being like, okay, now I got to go grind it out with work. Right. And then now I'm going to go take this trip. Okay. Now, and keeping it fresh, and exciting and, letting others around you kind of help boost it up when you're not there as well.
Love that. Is there, in terms of trends, beauty trends are constantly changing and evolving. You have this sort of, sugaring has been around forever. So do you have to worry about how do we stay on top of trends? Or is it kind of like, no, we've got this thing.
Yeah.
It's, timeless type stuff.
I think we are the trend, and most places are behind, right? But we're in LA, and so most people think like most people know here what sugaring is, and you go maybe to some of these states in the Midwest and they don't know yet, but they're excited about it, but people don't like change, right? And they're scared, so you have to like introduce them to it and help them understand all the benefits. Why? So I would definitely say this is where most people are moving to, especially the younger generations are so conscious about where they are putting their dollars, where they're spending them, the makeup products they're using. They do not like chemicals. They do not like waste. So really helping educate that specific market as well, since they are some of the, bigger consumers in the organic industry.
That's great. So not really worried about where are we at on the trend? We're the trend, and more so worried about educating people.
Yeah, and like
it's just nice. Yeah, different product in the house.
Like there's all that, but like that's not for everybody. There's radiation. It can promote growth. It can scar people, right?
Yeah.
There's things with these other methods that, yes, they may become more affordable and more accessible, but it's not necessarily what some people want.
Danielle, where is sugaring in LA in 5 to 10 years?
Where's Sugar LA? Oh, I always say like go open right next to a European Wax Center, and we'll have 1,100. We'll just put them out of business. I see us all over the map. I do. Maybe 500. It's a lot. It's a big organization. Big. I maybe just see myself as only the founder in it and doing appearances and making sure everything's going well. But I definitely see it growing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I see that for you as well.
Thank you.
And I'm going to open it up here in a second for a couple of questions. Before that, I want to ask you, you're very much a conscious leader, and it's admirable. What are 2 traits that you believe a conscious leader must have today?
I believe they need to have faith in themselves and a positive outlook, and treat others as you want to be treated. I think is a big motto I've always lived by, especially with my staff. If I want people to work for me, I better model that. And
yeah, I love that. Timeless advice.
Yeah,
that's great. All right, so we're going to open it up to a few questions here. We do have a gentleman in the back. Do we have a mic that we can bring him? Mr. Drew Howard. Oh, we need a mic check on that. And if not, you can come up here and use this mic. We do want it on the mic so the people... No, so we want the people on the podcast that are listening to hear your questions. So we'd love for you to... You want to just come up? Just putting you on the spot.
Right here? Yeah? No? Okay. So I work in a brick and mortar business now. I love being in the business, interacting with the customers, having those personal relationships, but I also love the 4-hour work week idea. How do you suggest I be able to work on the business while not necessarily being in the business all the time?
Well, if it's not your own business, it's difficult because you don't necessarily get to dictate what that looks like. But if you can run the people under you who are running those locations really efficiently, and you know that they're accomplishing what they need to, and those studios are performing well, then that tells you you're doing a good job. So how many hours did that take you in a week to make sure that they're all performing at their highest level and all the studios are, running well? I think that's kind of how you have to look at it, of what can you accomplish and how well is your leadership
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And a quick follow-up to that. If in fact I truly love being there so often, how do you find potentially that love and that connection with, if it's maybe just a couple studios, you obviously have more now. How do you find that connection, not necessarily being in the business all the time, I suppose?
Yeah. Can be hard. But if you set the pace and you set the vibe and the energy and you trickle that to the person who is there all the time, then that studio is going to also embody that of you. That's kind of how I have to look at it, of like,
osmosis. All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Not easy, but
Yeah, those are great questions because as Drew was saying, right, like he has that passion and loves and enjoys, right? And those, I think it's 3 locations in LA at Stretch Lab. And,
and
go ahead.
And I would say, even if you had your own business, that's how you would look at it, how I look at it, and how, I give that advice. I would say it's my leadership. It starts with me. Like, I'm the first one to take the fault when I see something that happened or I allowed something to happen for too long, right? It falls on me. So
Yeah. All right, another question. You don't have to come up on stage. Yeah. Here. Okay, it's working great. It's working.
Okay. It's more just a comment. I've lived in LA for 25 years. Never heard of Sugar Ray.
It's not working. You just have a great voice. Okay.
Yeah, I was just saying. Nice. The magic of microphones. Yeah, I've just lived here 25 years, and I've never heard of sugaring, and I had to deduce it from this talk and figure out what you guys meant. But it sounds really interesting, and it's just a testament to your encouragement to build community by coming to things like this.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it's funny because our LA studios are really busy based on just word of mouth, and we probably put for years maybe 2% into marketing. I mean, it was that just word of mouth. But as you grow and as as time goes on, like clients move and, you have to continue to like generate and educate everyone around you. And then also like for the franchise, I'm like, oh wait, we gotta get it out there so everybody knows what this is. Cause I could still go into a room and say like even how many of you knew what sugaring was? Right? It's maybe like a quarter of you. Yeah. But now you all know.
Great. One more. There was one more right here.
Thank you. You spoke about your journey a lot, but I was more interested in some of the partnerships in the beginning that formed your company here in LA. And you mentioned Lush and how important Lush was, and what are ideas with the sugars you get, and how do you protect sugaring LA from other businesses trying to penetrate what you're doing?
Yes. I don't know what Lush is. I think you meant the Lash Lounge, like is one of our partners. So sugaring, it's a great question, actually. Is a very meticulous type of business. It's like an art of hair removal. It's like a sculptor, right? You're not going to be good the first time you throw on a wheel. You are going to get better as you do this technique. And we call it our smart sugaring technique. I've spent 20 years developing it. And it's faster and more efficient. We have 4 different paste textures that we combine. So the experience is going to be comfortable going on and coming off rather than hurting going on, or not breaking hair, we pull the hair in the natural direction, not backwards. So it doesn't break the hair, tear the follicle, right? These are all like things that are very specific to sugaring LA that you will find people who pop up and do sugaring, but they're not doing it well. The results aren't lasting long. It's more painful. They can bruise, which gives sugaring then a bad name, right? But then when you see, hey, this place has so many good reviews, I'm going to go try hair. And they're like, oh, you guys are awesome. And so that's one thing that keeps sugaring LA at the forefront. There's always going to be the copycats. The highest form of flattery is mockery. We have lived that a lot from 2011, and I won't be specific. But it's definitely, I've just always been so confident in our brand and our services, and so are the staff. So there's always going to be something popping up, but they always struggle, or they're always adding other services with it, like waxing or laser. And if you are doing other services and sugaring, you're not good at sugaring, and you don't understand the benefits and the why behind it. So that's how I look at that. Great question. Yeah.
Great question. Well, thank you everyone for being here. You can connect with Danielle and Sugaring LA on this QR code, with me right here on this one. And you've got some time to keep connecting with each other and inspiring each other. And thank you all so much for being here. Danielle, keep doing you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone. It's been fun. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you like the show, please subscribe or share with a homie. It means the world to me. And honestly, straight up, just hit me up. The easiest way on Instagram, SEBNAUM. Ask me questions. I want to be here as a resource and a source of inspiration. I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day. Much love.